What's up, guys? Tim Little. Welcome back to Tactical Bass. In today's video, we are talking about dice baits, fuzzy baits. Why are they the #1 trend in bass fishing? Here we go. Matt and I have been doing this bass fishing thing for a long time, and we've seen some trends, right? We've been through a lot of different trends in bass fishing, but as of late, I don't know that there's one rising quicker or more popular than these guys right here, the dice baits or the fuzzy baits. You know, this year there was a few major tournaments won on these guys. And at ICAST back in July, there were so many companies that came out with their own versions of fuzzy baits. Now, I did this video maybe a year or longer. I can't remember. It was at least last year, maybe 2 years ago. But in that video, I actually talked about how to make your own fuzzy baits. Baits with extra appendages, basically taking a little tool or a paper clip, taking your skirt strands, your favorite color skirt strands, and poking them through and making your own extra appendage baits, right? You get that secondary action. So now, fast forward to ICAST 2025, I mean, Yamamoto came out with several baits. We're going to talk about those here shortly. Z-Man came out with several baits. Big Bite Baits came out with several baits. All of these baits have extra appendages. So why is it the #1 trend in bass fishing right now? And why haven't you tried it? And we're going to cover some key baits, how I like to rig them, and how you can save yourself some money, because some of these things are pricey. I mean, you're looking at 20 bucks for 3 baits, but heck, if you're catching fish, to some people, it's worth it. Now, first we have to understand that not every trend sticks in bass fishing, right? We've seen trends come and go, but the reason that I feel like this dice category, this dice category or fuzzy bait category is here to stay, it's because, like I said, the tournaments that were won on it, the guys catching highly pressured fish with these types of baits, and then with ICAST, a lot of these companies coming out and pumping more and more of these readily available baits. You know, you don't necessarily have to get them from Japan into the US market. So I think this trend is here to stay. Caught a bunch of fish doing it. The fish just haven't really seen anything like this. So we're going to talk about that here shortly. But I think this trend is here to stay. So I have been guilty of looking at, I mean, like I said, Matt and I, we've been doing this long enough. There have been times I can think about when the Whopper Plopper first came out, and I saw that thing and I'm like, that is really stupid. I will never throw that. And then you start learning, oh shoot, it's really popular. And I completely missed the bus on it until, you know, I've learned to have an open mind. And so when I first saw these dice style, but you know, the OSP dice, this is probably the most common or most popular bait from Japan. There's a lot of other baits, but that's really the one that kind of set that whole dice category on fire. You know, it has it's rigged. You know, it looks just like a little die. It's even got the little numbers on there, the 1 through 6. But, you know, these JDM trends or these finesse fishing trends from Japan, I've learned have a lot of power here in the US market. And now with all these other companies jumping on the bandwagon, I think this trend is here to stay. But backing up, I've learned a long time ago not to think something is stupid until I've tried it, because I've talked to guys that were some of the first guys ever to throw a Senko, and they thought it was stupid. Probably one of, if not the best finesse baits ever produced for bass fishing. You know, that stick bait, that real subtle action bait. So again, today we're going to talk about some new baits to the category, some readily available baits, some baits that were released at ICAST that will be available here the next month or two. So again, I didn't want to overlook this video. I know the power of adding that secondary action to your baits, you know, having that Senko or having that Ned rig, but having some extra movement is what really makes these baits shine. All right, so why is this category, why is this becoming such an up and coming trend? You know, the dice category, the fuzzy bait, I'm gonna call it the fuzzy bait category, because now we're outside of the actual dice. I mean, we got Yamamoto, and the fuzzy nuts, we got Z-Man doing the fuzzy nuggets. We got your favorite TRDs now with that extra silicone, those appendages. You know, we got all sorts of stuff. Hoike, the shrimp. Lots and lots of baits. Big Bite Baits added one to this category. Lots and lots of baits in this category. Now, the reason why, it's that secondary action. You know, we've preached this for many years, if not decades, about the benefits of the secondary action from a skirt on a swim jig, right? What sets that apart is not only do you have that swimming action and that vibrating, you know, that head rocking and everything, but you have that skirt pulsating and you have that secondary action. And the same is key with your favorite finesse techniques. You know, I think about it all the time. It's one of the things I think about when I'm finesse fishing. I am guilty of moving or giving my finesse techniques too much action. So now you can slow down. You can slow down with your favorite finesse techniques. And now you have that added secondary action. You have these silicone appendages just flowing in the current, just very subtle action. And it's something that those fish, especially highly pressured fish, key in on. So that's why I believe they work so well. And I think that's why so many guys are having success with this style of bait. Having that traditional finesse technique, whether it's a drop shot, I'll rigged right here for you, whether it's a drop shot, whether it's a Ned rig, a Nico rig, a Texas rig, whatever finesse, a shaky head, whatever finesse technique you're throwing, now you can slow down and add that secondary motion to your favorite finesse technique. That's that new Senko from Yamamoto. Again, I will link all these baits down below in the video description. Some are available right now. Some will be available here in the next month or so. But it's baits like little fuzzy nut. That thing is super cool. Downsized profile. Again, lots of appendages, lots of movement. Matt and I got our hands on a couple packs at ICAST, so we've been able to play around with those. But understanding the power of that secondary action, and I think that is why these baits work so well. And two, the versatility, right? Like I said, you can fish these things weightless. You can even take that OSP dice. I mean, I put like a 1/32 ounce weight in the bottom. These guys right here from Big Bite Baits, they just screw right in the bottom. I'll show you one I have rigged right here. Screw right in the bottom. I take an owner centering pin and I screw that into the head or to the top of the bait. And then I hook my favorite #1 size drop shot hook through that loop and through the bait. And that gives me a lot more, makes the bait a lot more resilient, a lot more durable. Because when you're paying 20 bucks a bait for 3 or 4 soft plastics, you don't want to be losing them. But adding those, having that secondary action, and then having the versatility of how to fish them, fishing them weightless, fishing them down on the bottom on a drop shot, being able to change up the slow fall, you know, fishing down on the bottom, fish them mid column, you know, over a brush pile, throw that thing weightless out there, let it fall. It displaces water when you hop it. All those appendages are moving, and I think that's really why these fish, especially smallmouth fisheries, you know, fisheries with real clear water, highland reservoirs, real clear water, fish that are pressured, highly pressured, and fish that are visible hunters, right? They can see a long ways, ultra clear water. When you throw a bait out there and just let that fall slow, subtly down through that water column, bass are interested creatures. They are interested in a lot of things. They're intrigued by a lot of things, and they want to investigate. They don't have arms, they don't have hands, so they kind of test with their mouth. So again, these things are here to stay. And those are two of the reasons I think that's why they are so popular and why they catch so many fish, so many highly pressured fish. Now, I mentioned fishing in clear water. I had the most success fishing these things, whether it's a homemade Ned with some appendages, or some of the newer baits that make it easy to just buy and rig out of the package. I've had the most success fishing these things basically where you'd fish a normal drop shot or an eco rig or finesse jig. So we're talking laydowns. A lot of times this time of the year, you know, the water's dropping or receding, and those fish are gonna pull into cover. They're gonna pull into those isolated pieces of cover. So whether it's offshore brush piles, you know, throwing this thing out there weightless and just letting it drift down through the water column, fishing around boat docks, these things are awesome. Again, being able to fish these where you'd fish your favorite, whatever finesse setup, I really, really enjoy throwing these guys right here. So, super easy to fish. A beginner to the most advanced bass fisherman can fish these. You know, basically throw it out there weightless like you would your favorite Senko. Heck, like I said, they even have the Senko now with these. Let that thing fall. Those dice baits or some of the other baits, you know, the fuzzy nuggets from Z-Man, you know, that's an Elastec bait. That's a high float bait. So that's gonna fall super slow. And again, it's a fall or a presentation these fish haven't seen. And then with those added appendages, right? Those added appendages, you just have a ton of action, a ton of movement on the fall. And then again, fishing it on a drop shot, I typically have a longer leader, whether it's a 1 to 2 foot leader, get this thing up off bottom. I can get real aggressive with my shakes, get those appendages moving. I can kind of pull and lift and let that thing swim up through the water column and then drop. It's gonna crash down, and it's gonna sit there, and just those appendages are just gonna, with the most subtlest of actions, those appendages are gonna move that secondary action. But drop shot, make sure you throw a little bit longer leader, 1 foot to 2 feet. If you're throwing these things weightless, I like to throw it I put that, like I said, that little owner centering pin, I screw that into the face, and I'll take my favorite number 1 or number 2 sized drop shot hook, and I will literally fish this weightless through the water column. Now, one key thing, no matter what you're rigging, whether it's the nuggets or whatever these baits are, make sure that you're not running your hook through the appendages. You want that thing free floating, free moving to get the best action and the best results from your baits. All right, so now that we kind of talked about all of that stuff, let's talk about some of the key baits that we've been fishing, and some key baits they've added to the US market and that are that make fishing this category really, really fun. So like I said, the number 1 bait, that OSP dice. Why do I keep dropping this thing? That OSP dice, that is the bait that really put this technique on the US market, on the industry here in the States. And then there's been a lot of additions. Some other JDM, some other Japanese companies have their baits over here now. But now with, like this guy right here, that's the koike, the shrimp. That is an awesome, awesome little, now this can be fished as a Ned rig, a bottom contact bait, but I really like fishing this one on the drop shot as well. That is actually the medium size. It comes in 3 different sizes, but again, I will link up link all these baits down below in the video description. That's that little bit smaller size, and it works really well on the drop shot. But for me, I've always, you know, going back a long time, fishing tournaments still, my Ned rigs and my Senkos, I would sometimes add those appendages because of what we talked about today. But now, both Yamamoto with their new fuzzy Senko, that's going to be available here hopefully shortly. I don't want to have to keep making my own. Added the fuzzy Senko. They also added the, did I pull one out? Thought I did. I'm losing fuzzies. The little fuzzy nut. That's a little like 1-inch bait with the appendages. Again, you can fish this. This is going to be heavier. It's not going to be that high float like that Elastec, like the nuggets, or some of the saltless dice, but it's going to have some weight to it like a Senko does. So it's going to fall a little bit faster, but you can also rig this just like the dice with the bait, with the weight in the bottom of the bait, and then your favorite drop shot hook on bottom. You can fish it weightless, let it fall. These things skip amazingly well. But yeah, the fuzzy nugget, the fuzzy nut, the Yamamoto, the fuzzy Senko, and then like I said, Z-Man has the fuzzy nuggets. These things are high float, so I like to fish this either weightless with a, like, depending on the hook size, sometimes it will actually float, so you want it to fall real slow, so you can take like a really small nail weight and put it in there, or fish it on a drop shot. I like that. Again, that Elastec is really buoyant. And then this guy right here, the fuzzy bugs, okay? So it's a little downsized profile. This works great on a Ned rig. It works great as a drop shot as well. That color right there, that's electric shad. Again, so much action to these baits. Talked about the Koike shrimp. Show you that one. I showed you that one already. And then, yeah, I think those are the key additions this year that I've been playing around with and having a lot of fun with. Again, the dice, that square bait, being able to rig it properly, rig it straight, let it fall weightless or a little bit of a nail weight, those baits really work. And then adding to that arsenal, you know, the shrimp baits, the bugs, the nuggets, the fuzzy nuts, the Senko, all those are going to be readily available. And some of them are. The Z-Man stuff already is. I've been catching a ton of fish with these. But guys, I believe this trend is here to stay. You know, so whether it's your favorite shaky head worm that now you want to throw some secondary action on, or it's your favorite Nico worm, your favorite Senko, or your favorite drop shot bait, favorite Ned rig bait, adding that secondary action to categories, to techniques that were already awesome is just adding that one more level of finessiness, and it really works. Adding that secondary motion, you know, remember, don't overwork your baits. I've been guilty of it, overworking my drop shot, overworking my Ned rig, overworking my shaky head, my Nico rig. Again, these fish are kings in their little domain. They know what's going on, and when you fish these things subtle, whether it has appendages or silicone skirt or not, when you fish your finesse technique subtle and slow, I mean, I can't tell you how many times early on I used to get my butt kicked by my wife. You know, we'd be fishing, she'd be in the back of the boat throwing a Senko, just letting it fall, not doing anything, and she'd kick my butt. Again, I'm out there giving that bait too much action. Now we can fish slower. We have that added secondary action, and guys, this technique is here to stay. Now, for you guys that want to, or you missed that previous video that I did, like I said, a year or two ago, where I talked about taking your favorite shaky head worm or your favorite Ned rig and adding appendages, guys, it is super easy. Basically, just get your favorite jig skirt, okay? Favorite jig skirt, whatever color that may be, take a couple strands. This guy's actually made by Decoy. Again, I'll link this stuff down below in the video description, but it's just like a little threader, and it allows you to wedge that skirt material through it and then push this through your bait. I showed you guys before how to do it with a paper clip. I mean, it is super easy. Again, I've been doing this a very long time, but that little tool right there helps with basically pushing it through and then pulling your skirt material through and then trimming it to the lengths that you want. But guys, there's been some awesome additions to the fuzzy bait or this dice category. I can't tell you how much time this saves me. Being able to just buy a package now of my favorite Ned rig and not having to sit there and thread all these, the skirt material is a huge, huge, huge time saver. But if you're a guy that wants to add different colors or specialty skirts or all that stuff, you know, don't be afraid to play around with your own skirt material and your own colors, and you guys will have a ton of success. Guys, as always, we appreciate the support. I will link all these products down below in the video description. Again, this fuzzy bait category, this dice category, it is a growing category, and the results speak for themselves, guys. Highly pressured fish, clear water, ultra finessey, giving these fish a profile, movement they haven't seen is what's key, and it's why this trend is here to stay. Like I said, I'll link all the stuff down below in the video description. I appreciate the support. If you learned something from this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you guys on the next video.